portion of my life doing a hobby so much, obsessing, persevering over it, that I completely fell out of love with it. At the age of 14 years old, I'd been playing the piano for about 7 years at this point. I'd gotten myself to grade 5, a suitable level. I could play all of my sheet music, my favourite Beyonce tracks. When my friends came round, I could show off. It gave me joy. And I made the decision, once I did this grade, I'm going to go back to my piano teacher and say, actually, I'm going to stop my lessons there. I've gotten everything I wanted to out of this achievement. She looked at me, she winked, and she said, yes, dear, I thought you would stop there. That tone pretty much set the rest up of my next 3 years. Did I stop those lessons? No. I was practicing with a frown on my face. I was frustrated. I was playing those exam pieces. There was no time for irreplaceable, or if I were a boy at this point. It was exam mode only. And I got through it, ticked off the grades, and I got to grade 8. Did it. Dragged myself through. Done. Phew. Not pride, not confidence, relief. And some could say, oh, Ella, she was a perfectionist. She just wanted to get to grade 8. She had high standards. But actually, I was so crippled in the fear of letting someone's perception of me down that I sucked the joy out of my greatest, most joyful hobby that I had. And that perfectionism is why I'm here to talk to you today, because we are still, as a society, obsessed with being perfect. And I want us to go away today, and I'll discuss in the next few minutes why, that bravery and courage is what we need to be idolizing. We're in a culture today where we are the most connected generation ever to be. We can see everything, we know everything, and yet still we are anxious. We are less willing to apply for things. In fact, a recent survey suggested that under 30-year-old students, young professionals, 41% of us, as if I'm under 30, 41% of you all are less likely to apply for a job role if you don't satisfy 10 out of 10 of the characteristics listed on it. 57% of you all were over-polishing a piece of work, so much so that you'd gone past the deadline on what it was going to be effective on. And it's no wonder why we feel like this. Look at our curriculums. Look at the way that we're examined. We are taught in our textbooks, in our classrooms. If we do not list every single word in that order, we don't get full marks. If we're not examined in that way to describe the exact same thing as that, but it has to be in this detailed method, we don't get full marks. The whole grading system, we have to get full marks in order to be perfect. So it's no wonder why we leave the educational system catapulted into industry, into real world, and by the way, spoiler, it's imperfect. So we're crippled by the time we get to that stage, terrified of putting a foot wrong. In my day-to-day life, I'm an engineer. I'm a female engineer in the automotive industry. Yes, there is a topic there. It's probably time for another TEDx talk. However, I get a lot of questions about confidence and how courage, confidence kind of goes hand in hand, right? Where did you get confidence from? How did you learn that? Where did you find that? And I often say that confidence is something that I have not grown with or found. It's like a muscle that we have to exercise. We have to do it slowly, bit by bit. It's a perseverance thing. But there was a little something that did help me along the way, and it was a book called Grit, written by psychologist Angela Duckworth, and she talks about how we as a global society are obsessed with natural talent. Maybe it's our proximity to social media. We're obsessed with how naturally brilliant they are, how charismatic, how confident, amazing. They must have been born like that. And she interviewed military cadets, spelling bee champions, elite athletes, and she said it's not about talent. It's about courage, it's about grit. She defines grit as the passion and perseverance to commitment to long-term goals. She summarised it in a couple of formula, and I'm an engineer, I love to categorise my characteristic traits into formula, and it goes like this. She says, talent times effort gives us skill, yet skill times effort gives us achievement. Effort features twice, not talent. And I want you guys to remember that. If we look back into history, some examples of where perfectionism fits into that, right? So Thomas Edison, the godfather of the light bulb, famously created the halogen light bulb, which lights everything that we facilitate in this world right now. But he was also famous for doing hundreds and thousands of experiments. Now, if Thomas Edison was a perfectionist, would he have even got past the first 100 experiments? Would he have even started out on his experiment journey? Kept on breathing through failures and learning from science. What about a deeper example? Rosa Parks changed the course of history in one moment on the bus. If she was a perfectionist, or if she was looking for that perfect moment, would she have done it on the bus? No, she lost her job. She was arrested. But it was that act of courage in that moment that then went on to define and shape the way that we know the world today. It's not just always in that dramatic act of courage. People don't realise that Rosa was an activist for many, many years prior to that, and she continued her activist work after that as well. So we've got to think confidence, courage, this isn't something that we acquire and then we go and tackle. We instinctively think that we should have confidence, which will give us the ability to then give us the perception and the appearance of being successful. When actually history, research, Rosa Parks has taught us that we need to be able to do the things we do, to give us the effort, to give us the skill, to then get the confidence. In my day-to-day job as an engineer, did I mention, I've come across a lot of firsts. We're all going through it or about to go through it. First job, very exciting. But I was the first one in my company to think technically in the field that I was situated in. I had to create a department. I had to create a facility. And yes, you could have a laugh about how there's a fine line between naivety, and boy was I naive at that point, looking back now, wow. Or was I courageous? But because I didn't know what that baseline looked like, I didn't know what perfect looked like. I had Angela Duckworth telling me, put one foot in front of the other. We're going to do what I think I need to do, but I just need to do. I need to be brave. And of course, as I start on this journey, I get comments, oh, you're doing it that way. Oh, you're investing in that first. That's interesting. My ex-employer did it that method and it didn't really work out. I suddenly realised, oh my gosh, I'm not being perfect. But by this point, one foot in front of the other, I was doing it already and seeing elements of that success coming through and creating something. So when I reflect on it now, it wasn't from those people's comments of lack of ability, but it was their comments from lack of courage to do the do. So on reflection of this, I want you guys to go away thinking, I'm going to start to apply myself at 70% readiness. I want you to launch version 1, send that draft, because we need to start getting comfortable at being imperfect. We need to start being braver, more courageous. And it isn't just one, bam, act of dramatic heroism in that courageous moment, because courage compounds. One courageous event can be powerful, but multiple perseverance of it can be transformative. So I want you to perceive perfection. And it's okay, perfection can exist, but it needs to be a moving target. As we evolve, as we develop, as we live, perfection and what our ideology of it is going to move and it's going to change. And grit is the long-term commitment for us to keep following and picking ourselves back up, following that moving target. But it's courage and bravery that is the decision to let go and activate that altogether. So the next time you're lining up to do something, no matter how big or small, and you have perfectionism whispering in your ear, wait a second, let's just wait until we're ready for this. I want you to whisper back, no, let's get going, and I'll stay.